NAFLD, and we need to redefine diseases and its management. So what is NAFLD? Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is a condition where at least 5% of the liver cells or hepatocytes have fat. That is the definition of NAFLD. So what? Okay. Mike, how disoriented a person can get? थोड़ा यार माइक ऑन कर दे.
माइक अभी हम
अरे भैया करो. हो गया? So NAFLD is a condition where at least 5% of the hepatocytes, the total hepatocyte mass, has fat. Okay, so that is non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. But then what is the exclusion criteria? This person should not consume more than 30 grams of alcohol per day for men and more than 20 grams of alcohol for women. Okay, so that is the exclusion criteria. आप equivalent to 30 ग्राम ले सकते हो भाई, लेकिन and this is every day and less than 20 grams per day for women. लेकिन अगर इससे ज़्यादा है तो फिर चीज़ें जो है वो थोड़ी सी कॉम्प्लिकेटेड हो जाती है. तो ये जो MAFLD है इसकी ज़रूरत क्यों पड़ी? इसकी ज़रूरत इसलिए पड़ी कि ये देखा गया कि many of our patients who have NAFLD, it is not pure NAFLD. It is associated with several comorbidities. And what are those comorbidities? Number one is obesity. Number two is diabetes mellitus. Number three is hypertriglyceridemia of more than 150 milligram per deciliter. Low HDL cholesterol of less than 40 milligram per deciliter in males and less than 50 milligram per deciliter in females. A waist circumference which is more than 90 centimeters in males and a waist circumference which is more than 80 centimeters in females. And several other things. And it was found that this combination of metabolic syndrome along with fatty liver disease should have a new definition called as metabolic associated fatty liver disease, because the pure fatty liver disease exists only in less than 5% of cases. So of all the fatty liver disease cases that we have, 95% cases are having at least two associated metabolic disorders. And which metabolic disorders? Which I just mentioned to you. Okay, just to revise for you: obesity, type 2 diabetes, hypertriglyceridemia, low HDL cholesterol, waist circumference, and several other factors. And what is so significant about NAFLD or MAFLD? What is the commonest cause of mortality in MAFLD? What is the commonest cause? It is the cardiovascular disease. It's the cardiovascular mortality, which is very, very important. It is not the hepatic issues. Like you understand in CKD, the commonest cause of mortality is ACS, cardiac. It is not the renal disease. Similarly, in liver diseases, the commonest cause of mortality is CV disease. What is the second commonest cause? Extra hepatic malignancies. Not hepatic malignancy, not primary hepatic malignancies, but extra hepatic malignancies. So then liver becomes a very, very important filtering organ for all of us, which is determining lot of things, not only metabolic syndrome and its associated complications, but also CV mortality and also extra hepatic malignancy, apart from this being a very important reason for primary hepatocellular carcinoma. And it is also a very important cause of cirrhosis. You know that, NASH progressing to cirrhosis. So let's start the presentation. This was the background. This is the context of why we are talking about this condition. So non-alcoholic fatty liver disease sounding the alarm on silent epidemic. It is called, hello sir, the person actually who should be speaking on this is Shubham Vas, but he will be silently having a few bags and enjoying my presentation. What an irony of fate, Shubham. You are more of an expert than me. You should be presenting this. So sounding the alarm on silent epidemic and common causes of liver failure. What are those causes? Which is in your hands, which all of you are taking right now. Alcohol abuse. Use alcohol, don't abuse alcohol. Viral hepatitis B and C, drug-induced methotrexate, primary biliary cirrhosis, genetic diseases like alpha AT deficiency, Wilson's disease, sarcoidosis, and congestive heart failure, passive congestion. But which are the most important ones? भाई ये काम करता है alcohol abuse, viral hepatitis, drug-induced primary biliary cirrhosis, alcohol abuse, viral hepatitis, and there is something else now coming called the non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Apart from alcohol, there is something else also that needs to be considered. So, but in absence of these mentioned secondary causes, liver failure can still happen, and it is happening even in our younger population. So, criteria to define NAFLD as a disease, as I said in the context right in the beginning, you have to have liver fat which is present in more than 5% of the hepatocytes, confirmed by imaging or histology. You can do it by imaging. Everyone doesn't want to go in for a liver biopsy, so you can do imaging. Now we have very good imaging tools with us. Presence of insulin resistance, this is the most important, and if you carry home the message from my talk that insulin resistance is the issue in NAFLD or MAFLD, the purpose of this talk is over. Let me tell you. Why? Because the drug that we'll be talking about is actually will be decreasing insulin resistance. You must understand that. Okay? So, presence of insulin resistance. And what is insulin resistance a surrogate marker of, or what is a surrogate marker of insulin resistance as far as lipids are concerned? Bhai Sahab, Naveen Babu, what is the surrogate marker of insulin resistance in lipid metabolism? Very good. DM endo. Hypertriglyceridemia is a surrogate marker. What is the second surrogate marker of insulin resistance in lipids? Low HDL cholesterol. Great. So low HDL cholesterol and hypertriglyceridemia are the surrogate markers of insulin resistance. Very good. Alcohol intake should be less than 30 gram daily for men and less than 20 gram daily for women. Okay? Dr. Kalra sir has done some research on gram equivalent to how many cc's of whiskey. In the end, I will request him to calculate that. I am not an expert on that. Exclusion of secondary cause of fatty liver. That is very important. Okay, you must be able to exclude secondary causes of liver failure. So NAFLD is actually a spectrum 0 to 10. You know, after you get your car serviced, you are asked by the company people, भाई साहब हमारे वो एक head office से phone आएगा तो आप बोल देना कि भैया मुझे सर्विस में 10 out of 10 दे देना. It is a spectrum. Normal liver, NAFLD, and what do you get here? Cirrhosis. And what would you get here? NASH. NASH. Non-alcoholic state of hepatitis. Okay? Right. So statosis, what does statosis means? Statosis means also known as fatty liver. Okay? There are fats in more than 5% of the hepatocytes. But there is no inflammation. There is no inflammation. Or no hepatocyte ballooning. So what is the marker of inflammation? Dr. Kalra sir, what will be the marker of inflammation in the blood? SGOT, SGPT and
GGT or
gamma GT, maybe or maybe not, right sir? But primarily ALT and AST, right? And what about steatohepatitis? So from a stage of statosis, which defines NAFLD, which should be present in at least 5% of the total hepatocytes, what is the next stage? The next stage is steatohepatitis. From statosis, you remember cholestasis? Statosis. Statosis is fat in the liver cells. Now this fat is not silent. Now it will start to create trouble. And what trouble it will create? It will cause hepatitis. And when there is hepatitis, what do you get in the blood? You get elevated markers. You get SGOT, SGPT, and at times gamma GT. Fatty liver with inflammation and hepatocyte ballooning is steatohepatitis. It is a progression from steatosis to steatohepatitis. Now, which one is reversible of them? Steatosis is reversible. But if the inflammation sets in, then there is a problem. You know that? If the inflammation starts, if you are elevated SGOT, SGPT, gamma GT, you must counsel your patient, भैया देख 15 साल है तेरे पास, इस 15 साल में जो तेरा मेटाबॉलिक सिंड्रोम जिसकी वजह से तेरे को ये हो रहा है, उन चीज़ों को रिवर्स कर ले। वो क्या क्या चीज़ें हैं? वो चीज़ें हैं लाइफस्टाइल, और उस लाइफस्टाइल में जो बॉटम लाइन है वो है वेट लॉस। अगर वेट लूज नहीं किया तो सारी बातें बेमानी। नंबर 2, you have to control your metabolic parameters. If you have diabetes, control your diabetes. If you have hypertriglyceridemia, control triglycerides. If you have low HDL cholesterol, increase your HDL cholesterol. What is the best method of increasing HDL cholesterol?
Red wine.
Lifestyle. No red wine. Brisk walk. Red wine comes later. Okay? If you have fought with your family and you tell them, no, I will not do anything, they will buy you a bottle of red wine and tell, okay, at least you drink red wine. No, you want to go to that stage? Now, is this reversible? Is this reversible?
Partly.
Partly reversible. Dr. M.L. Kalra sir said partly reversible.
Yes, it's reversible.
It's reversible, it is not reversible is a big debate. Once the inflammation sets in, you are bound to stay to progress to a worse stage of this. And what is that? That is cirrhosis. Okay, increasing fibrosis leading to cirrhosis, hepatocellular carcinoma. Please now understand this, that NAFLD itself is a very, very eminent cause of hepatocellular carcinoma. Apart from what? Hepatitis B, hepatitis C, iron overdose, or hemochromatosis. So if you remember these 4 causes, then it's fine. Okay? So we have progressed from normal liver to steatosis, to steatohepatitis, and then cirrhosis. How much is the time do you think? Can anyone tell me? Dr. Kalra sir, always the most educated. Normal liver to cirrhosis, sir, how many years?
It can be 10 years.
It can be 10 years.
It can be earlier also.
It can be earlier. Can it be 20 years?
Yes.
It can be 20 years. So the timeline is not certain for everyone. It depends upon where NAFLD started. What was your original weight? What were your original parameters? And what were the associated comorbidities? In a person who has got diabetes, the progression of NAFLD is much faster. And the progression to NASH is much faster. And the progression then to cirrhosis is much faster. It can be even 10 years earlier than as compared to a person who is only obese but doesn't have diabetes. And it will also be complicated by the fact that even those small amounts of alcohol that you are taking will harm you. Please don't think that if you take 30 grams every day, it is not harming you. In combination with other factors, it will harm you. Okay? Right. So NAFLD prevalence in the Indian contribution is significantly high. We think no, we don't eat that much fat, we don't take that much alcohol. Our population primarily, sir, I need your attention, Dr. Arya sir, please. Or I will ask you to do the presentation, sir. सीधी सी बात है सर, ठीक है, मैं हिम्मत कर रहा हूँ सर, मुझे आपको पता नहीं है मेरी कितनी सर मतलब इस वक्त मेरी हालत नहीं समझ सकते सर, प्लीज. So global prevalence is 25%. Prevalence in India is nearly 40%. So it is 1.5 to 2 times. And prevalence in high-risk patients with metabolic conditions is 58%. So what does this mean? That it is only AFLD, but if you have associated metabolic abnormalities, then the syndrome, the prevalence of the syndrome is much higher. And prevalence, we would think, no, it is a disease of the adult population. भाई अपने को कुछ नहीं होना, अपने बच्चे को कुछ नहीं होना, ठीक है ना? बच्चा खाता क्या? पिज्जा. बच्चा खाता क्या? बर्गर. उसको 5 दिन पिज़्ज़ा चाहिए, 5 दिन बर्गर चाहिए,
कोक,
मॉर्निंग में चाहिए, बैग में चाहिए कोक, ठीक है, मम्मी बना के देती है लंच जो कि लौट के आता है वैसा का वैसा, ठीक है। तो भैया ये जो प्रेवलेंस इन चिल्ड्रन है ये 36% है इंडिया के अंदर। इट इज अ वेरी वेरी सैड सिचुएशन because these 36% of the children will grow up to be obese adults with metabolic syndrome. In due course of time, from pre-diabetes, they will be converted to diabetes. From pre-hypertension, they will be converted to hypertension. And they will have associated other metabolic abnormalities even at a younger age. So, their journey from AFLD, from NAFLD to cirrhosis will come at a much earlier. So if you start at the age of 14-15 years, you become obese, then by the time you are 35 years, you are actually having a cirrhosis and you are looking for a family person who can donate your liver. Okay? So it is a very very alarming situation. In North India it is 29, but the worst is in South India. The worst is in South India. The prevalence of this NAFLD is 40% of the population in South India is at a risk of NAFLD. So NAFLD or MAFLD, why should we change the definition? Where is the need to change the definition? So can it be redefined? That is the thing. NAFLD, we have been talking about NAFLD. Now we are saying, no, don't call it NAFLD. Call it MAFLD, Metabolic Associated Fatty Liver Disease. Why? Because only in less than 7 to 8% of cases we have pure. भाई सुन, ओए गुरु, ओ भाई सुन, माफ कर दे यार, और नहीं तो आके लेक्चर दे दे। So NAFLD or MAFLD, can it be redefined? So why do we need to redefine? In 2020, 2020 में more than 50 countries representatives they met and they said that we don't find AFLD in pure form in many cases. It is always associated one or the other metabolic anomalies, and those metabolic anomalies I have told you, and they will be coming in the subsequent slides. So they said, भाई मैसेज क्लियर नहीं जा रहा। NAFLD लोग सोचते हैं इट्स ए बिनाइन कंडीशन, डॉक्टर माथुर सर। अरे भाई तुम्हारे बच्चे को यार वो फैटी लीवर आया भाई 25 साल की उम्र में, कुछ नहीं कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है यार, तुम एक काम करो, तुम अपना डायबिटीज कंट्रोल करो, थोड़ा अल्कोहल कम करो। अल्कोहल तो सर मैं बहुत ही कम लेता हूँ, मन में कह रहा होता सर 4 लेता हूँ, मैं 5 सोच रहा था, लेकिन चलो 5वां नहीं लूंगा, कोई बात नहीं, ठीक है। भैया वेट कितना है? अरे डॉक्टर साहब रहने दो, मैं कर ही लिया 106 किलो है। नहीं आप मेरी मशीन पे चढ़ो 120 किलो, ठीक है। तो प्रॉब्लम क्या है? प्रॉब्लम जो है हमें इसको डिफाइन करके शुरू में ही मरीज को बताना है। NAFLD नहीं है भैया, इट इज नॉट ए बिनाइन कंडीशन, इट कैरीज वेरी बैड कॉनोटेशंस फॉर यू। इट इज नॉट ओनली अबाउट योर लिवर, it is about an early CV death, it is about extra hepatic malignancies apart from your risk getting elevated for primary hepatic cellular carcinoma. NAFLD is not a benign disease, please understand that, carry this message. NAFLD is not a benign disease, it is a very very bad disease, right? So insulin resistance, as I said friends, is the root cause factor for development of NAFLD। अगर ये समझ जाओगे तो मेरे 2 मैसेज क्लियर हो गए। तो मतलब इंसुलिन रेजिस्टेंस जो है ये जो कुछ कर रही है ये सब कुछ यही कर रही है। हायर इंसुलिन रेजिस्टेंस लीड्स टू मोर डिपोजिशन ऑफ एडिपोज टिश्यू एंड ट्राइग्लिसराइड accumulates in the liver, all right? Then there is lipotoxic metabolites that cause excessive oxidative stress and hepatocyte injury and fibrosis। तो ये जो इकट्ठे हो रहे हैं ना लीवर के अंदर, ये इन्फ्लेमेशन का ट्रिगर है, और यही हेपेटोसाइट के अंदर जा जाके ट्राइग्लिसराइड जो है ये फाइब्रोसिस करेगा, बिकॉज एनीवेयर इन द बॉडी इन्फ्लेमेशन इज फॉलोड बाय फाइब्रोसिस। ओके, सो अनट्रीटेड कंडीशन में कॉज सिरोसिस ऑफ लीवर और हेपेटोसेलुलर कार्सिनोमा। दिस इज अ बिजी स्लाइड, मैं इसकी डिटेल में नहीं जाऊंगा, मैं सिर्फ ये कहूंगा कि आप ये समझ लीजिए दैट लीवर इज द सेंट्रल ऑर्गन फॉर ग्लूकोज मेटाबॉलिज्म, लीवर इज द सेंट्रल ऑर्गन फॉर फैट मेटाबॉलिज्म, एंड लीवर इज द सेंट्रल ऑर्गन फॉर प्रोटीन मेटाबॉलिज्म। अभी यहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम क्या है? प्रॉब्लम ये है कि जब ओबेसिटी होती है या टाइप 2 डायबिटीज मेलाइटस होती है या मेटाबॉलिक सिंड्रोम के वेरियस चीजें होती हैं। बात किया सर से?
हाँ सर, क्या है कि मैं कोशिश कर रहा हूँ।
कोशिश कर रहे? ठीक है, मैं भी कोशिश कर रहा हूँ। सो ये जो मैं कोशिश कर रहा हूँ यार।
But you are giving beautiful presentation, sir.
So what we are talking about is at insulin resistance at the level of the liver. Now only 2-3 things I'll talk, and that too quickly. You know that whatever glucose we take is deposited in the liver in the form of glycogen. So your concepts are damn clear. Glycogen. And what is the hormone which is responsible for this glycogenesis? What is the hormone? No man. Insulin is the hormone which is responsible for glycogenesis. Now you eat for 12 hours, you eat in the morning at 8 o'clock, then you eat at 2 o'clock, and then you eat again in the night at 9 o'clock. So you have deposited all the glucose that you could do, but you have to have enough insulin. Now I put an adjective to insulin. You have to have enough effective insulin to do this. Alright? So you have glycogen. Now for next 12 hours you don't eat anything. What is keeping you alive? Glycogenolysis, which is the hormone which is causing glycogenolysis. Glucagon. Glucagon is the hormone which is causing glycogenolysis. कुछ याद आया ललित? HMP शंट पाथवे याद आया? मैंने पढ़ाया था 1980 में, अब 2023 में पढ़ा रहा हूँ, ठीक है? So glycogenolysis is caused by glucagon. So if you have enough glucose but you are not able to deposit that into glycogen, then there has to be a problem with the insulin. If you measure the insulin, actually the levels are elevated. The levels are actually elevated. They are more than as compared to a person who doesn't have diabetes. So what is the problem? The problem is insulin resistance. And that insulin resistance is happening at the level of the liver. So what is happening? That more and more glucose is now getting into, but also the elevated levels of glucagon. There are also elevated levels of glucagon. So you are not only dealing with hyperinsulinemia, you are also dealing with hyperglucagonemia. And therefore you have to be very, very careful with these two hormones. And that is why in 2007 we had this wonderful molecule which was working on the glucagon axis in diabetes. Although topic is not diabetes, but my favorite topic is diabetes. और मुझे हमें ये बताया गया था जब मैं ललित के साथ फाइनल ईयर में पढ़ता था और रंजन वधवा के साथ कि कोई भी एग्जामिनर पूछे ना तो ये मत बताओ कि वो क्या पूछ रहा है, तुम वो बताओ जो तुम्हें पता है। तो मैं आपको वही बता रहा हूँ जो मुझे पता है। ऐसे ही पास हुए हम लोग, तो आप लोग कैसे पास हुए मुझे मालूम नहीं है। So the insulin resistance at the level of the liver is extremely important and you must carry home this point. अगर आप ये बात समझ गए ना, आप पूरा मेटाबॉलिज्म समझ गए। मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ ना डॉक्टर सेन गुप्ता के पास मरीज भेजने की जरूरत ना मेरे पास, ठीक है? सारी की सारी चीज इसी चीज पे बेस्ड है। इंसुलिन रेजिस्टेंस, हाइपर इंसुलिनेमिया, हाइपर ग्लूकोगोनेमिया, relative lack of insulin, and therefore you have this extra deposition of triglycerides in the hepatocyte, and you have more than 5% of the hepatocytes getting fat, and then ballooning, and then inflammation, and subsequently NASH and fibrosis. So due to insulin resistance, which is a root cause factor, NAFLD is commonly associated with metabolic conditions like obesity, मैं तोते की तरह से रटा रहा हूँ, डायबिटीज एंड मेटाबॉलिक सिंड्रोम। मेटाबॉलिक सिंड्रोम के मैंने बहुत सारी चीजें बताई। इन मेन द वेस्ट सर्कमफ्रेंस शुड बी मोर देन 90 सेंटीमीटर्स, इन फीमेल्स 80 सेंटीमीटर्स, ट्राइग्लिसराइड मोर देन 150, एचडीएल कोलेस्ट्रॉल लेस देन इन मेन एंड लेस देन 50 इन वीमेन। मैं सुश्रुत को भी एंडोक्रिनोलॉजिस्ट बना दिया आज, राइट? Okay, so NAFLD commonly associated with metabolic conditions, and those metabolic conditions are type 2 diabetes, obesity, 90% of people who are obese, they have metabolic associated fatty liver disease. डॉक्टर भल्ला ने उंगली देके जैसे अंपायर उठाता है ना यूं करके crooked finger. Type 2 diabetes, hypertension, high triglycerides and the metabolic syndrome. So this is a very important slide for all of you to understand. Okay, and please understand the root cause of everything at display is insulin resistance, right? So higher fibrosis progression rate in NAFLD patients with diabetes, a prospective study, it's a multi-center prospective study of 448 NAFLD patients, they were included, and NAFLD was confirmed with biopsy, which is another way. Dr. Abha Parashar does it all the time with ultrasound, and they have, maybe she will have the input in the end of how she diagnoses AFLD with imaging. What was the conclusion? Over a period of 12 years, 73% higher risk of fibrosis progression in type 2 diabetes. This is the problem. We are the diabetes capital of the world. We have maximum diabetics. We know that diabetes will lead to fatty liver. And in fact, we say if on ultrasound in an adult or a middle-aged person you find fatty liver, investigate for insulin resistance and diabetes. If he has got pre-diabetes, he will definitely have diabetes in a few years. So this is the conclusion of this study, that in 12 years of time, no diabetes versus diabetes, there is the risk of developing fibrosis. It is not fatty liver, please understand. It is the risk of developing fibrosis. So you are actually now talking of cirrhosis. You are now actually talking of a potential liver transplant. So this is very, very high and unacceptable, and we will have to change things. So in type 2 diabetes, progression of NAFLD to cirrhosis and related mortality is higher. So no diabetes versus type 2 diabetes. Just see the figures. 10 to 20% will go into NASH. Of this, 10 to 15% will go to cirrhosis. And of the entire NASH that you have initially, about 2% will progress to hepatocellular carcinoma. Of those who develop cirrhosis, 13% will die. Their fate is sealed. Of those who have got hepatocellular carcinoma, 14% will receive a liver transplant. And despite receiving a liver transplant, 21% of these people will die. Just see the prognosis. It is bad even without diabetes. It's a bad condition. What about diabetes? So 33 to 66% patients with type 2 diabetes, as we said, have NAFLD. It is almost a surrogate marker of insulin resistance and a predictor of type 2 diabetes. NAFLD, see the figure here. In people who don't have diabetes versus people who have diabetes, 40% will develop NASH. And of these, 25% will develop cirrhosis. If you have diabetes, the risk of developing hepatocellular carcinoma compared to 2% here, how much? 16%. If you have diabetes and the same condition as alcoholic fatty liver disease, the chances of developing a cancer is 16%, and cirrhosis, you as compared to 3%, they go to hepatocellular carcinoma. Again 14% receive liver transplant. Just see the mortality in people who receive a liver transplant. How many of them die?
21%.
21%. And how many of the guys with diabetes die after a liver transplant?
42%.
42%. If you have a hepatocellular carcinoma, the mortality rate 43%, and in diabetics, what is the mortality rate?
85%.
It is almost double.
Double.
So you can say and you can summarize that the risk is double of developing NASH, of developing cirrhosis, of developing hepatocellular carcinoma. The problem does not end there. The problem is that even if these guys receive a liver transplant, their risk is still, mortality is still high. Is there any need to redefine NAFLD to MAFLD?
Yes.
That was a question I am sure Dr. Tulsi sir was to ask me. See the irony, now we'll ask him the question. He is the moderator now. Metabolic associated fatty liver disease may be new nomenclature of NAFLD in future. As I said, and I have I have something for you guys, which I searched and I'm going to tell you. फर रहा है सर, सबके सामने है, सबके सामने सर देखिए.
थोड़ा माइक के आगे आओ.
मुझे तो ये प्रेजेंट नहीं करना था सर. So please.
कैमरा के आगे इधर आओ.
Just give me a minute, sir. Just give me a minute. I want to put things into context. Oh, I still have 15 minutes. Alcoholic fatty liver disease (NAFLD) is a multi-system clinical condition that presents with a wide spectrum of extrahepatic manifestations, such as obesity, type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome, cardiovascular disease, CKD, extrahepatic malignancies, very important, and cognitive disorders and polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is also because of insulin resistance. Dr. Nina Paul, absolutely on the spot. Among NAFLD patients, the most common mortality etiology is cardiovascular, not liver, cardiovascular, followed by extrahepatic malignancies, not even primary hepatocellular carcinoma. Diabetes mellitus, liver-related complications. Furthermore, the severity of extrahepatic diseases is parallel to the severity of NAFLD. The cardiovascular mortality directly related to the severity of NAFLD. In clinical practice, awareness of the association of concomitant disease is of major importance for initiating prompt and timely screening and multidisciplinary management of the disease spectrum. We come to the definition. In 2020, a consensus from 22 countries redefined the disease as metabolic associated fatty liver disease, or MAFLD. And this resulted in the redefinition of the corresponding population, although the patients diagnosed with an MAFLD and NAFLD overlap. Obviously, we will understand that. The MAFLD and NAFLD population are not identical. MAFLD is one of the most common chronic liver diseases, which in turn triggers mild inflammation, metabolic dysfunction, fibrosis and cancer. Coming to the definition. MAFLD is defined, ये मैं डॉक्टर तुलसी के लिए लिख के लाया था, चुपचाप. MAFLD is defined as the presence of fatty liver disease in the absence of known causes of steatosis, with an emphasis on alcohol, as this is the second most important cause of fatty liver disease. Conversely, MAFLD is defined inclusively as the presence of fatty liver disease concomitantly with the presence of overweight or obesity and type 2 diabetes. The gold standard for diagnosing NAFLD is liver biopsy. So I got this farra so that I'll put things in context. Is there any need though to redefine from NAFLD to MAFLD? As I said, metabolic associated fatty liver disease may be new nomenclature for NAFLD in future, and MAFLD then would include associated type 2 diabetes, hepatic steatosis, imaging procedures, serologic scores or liver biopsy, the gold standard, lean normal weight, overweight, obesity, BMI in Caucasians more than 25, and in Asians as defined by ICMR also you would know more than 23. So presence of at least two of the following metabolic parameters I just said. If it is MAFLD, then you have to have these criteria. You need to have at least two of these, and these are 7 criteria. And what are these 7 criteria? The first criteria is presence of at least waist circumference more than 90 in males and more than 80 centimeter in Asian females. Blood pressure 130/85. Patient comes to your clinic. You see a blood pressure of 140/80. The entire family is there, and they ask you, doctor blood pressure है क्या? नहीं कुछ आइए 7 दिन के बाद आइए. 100 किलो का बंदा blood pressure 140/85 और हम उसको because we don't know the definition. So know the definition. If you have an obese person in your clinic, more than 20% of his ideal body weight, if he has a blood pressure of 130/85, he is meeting one criteria for MAFLD. If his plasma triglyceride is more than 150, if his HDL cholesterol is less than 40 for males and less than 50 for females, if he has got a fasting blood sugar of 100 to 125 and a 2-hour load of 140 to 199, and if he has an HbA1c from 7 to 6.4, great. And if his HOMA IR is more than 2.5. You are almost there, sir. You are almost there. And his plasma high sensitive CRP is more than 2. More than 2. Not 2 times. More than 2. So this is all that is written here. ये क्योंकि छोटा था, मैं इसको बड़ा करके ले आया. Somehow I had an intuition that I may be thrown into this. Okay. So proportion of MAFLD patients are higher than isolated NAFLD. Proportion of fatty liver with metabolic syndrome 80% observed in various studies. Isolated fatty liver proportion only about less than 8%, as I had said. Okay. So what is the association of AFLD, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, with metabolic syndrome? At least 2 is nearly 80%. And therefore in 2020 all these countries, they reached a consensus that we need to change the definition of NAFLD to MAFLD, metabolic associated fatty liver disease. ये काम तो हो गया भैया, है ना? Need to change, redefine NAFLD to MAFLD. अब रह गया सिर्फ खाना हो गया, अब रह गया सिर्फ स्वीट डिश. ठीक है, अब हम स्वीट डिश की बात करेंगे. So MAFLD is associated with more CV events compared to NAFLD. This is the problem. आप डेफिनेशन अगर NAFLD रखोगे तो डॉक्टर पोदार के पास कोई पेशेंट आया अपोलो स्पेक्ट्रा में, वो बोलेगा अरे ऐसा कुछ नहीं है यार, थोड़ी बहुत फैट है, खाना पीना थोड़ा कम करो, चला करो थोड़ा सा यार, शाम को अल्कोहल कम पिया करो. भैया अगर ये बंदा ओबीज है, अगर इसका ब्लड प्रेशर 140/90 है, अगर इसका ट्राइग्लिसराइड 200 है, अगर इसकी वेस्ट सर्कमफ्रेंस जो है वो 106 सेंटीमीटर है, इससे नहीं चलेगा बात. इसको बैठाओ, इसकी काउंसलिंग करो, इसकी वाइफ को बताओ 12 साल के अंदर कैंसर होने का डर है बाबूजी को, और लीवर का नहीं, लीवर के बाहर का. और दूसरी बात है, मरेगा लीवर से नहीं, मरेगा हार्ट अटैक से. ये बता दो, उसके बाद काम हो गया आपका. क्या करना है आपको? आपका काम तो हो गया बाबू. Prevalence of MAFLD is more common than NAFLD. MAFLD is associated with more CV events and mortality. That is why we need to change the definition. Metabolically associated fatty liver disease has a very bad prognosis. It carries bad connotations. It is not simple. You say it is NAFLD and then you walk off, the patient walks off, the family walks off, and then he sees you after a year. डॉक्टर साहब वजन नहीं कम कर पाया, बाकी तो सब ठीक है ना, अल्कोहल भी छोड़ दिया, ये करते, उसकी बाइक करके कुछ नहीं छोड़ा डॉक्टर साहब, आधी बोतल पीते हैं. ठीक है. So because we are not able to convey the message, you did not convey the message. राइट. ब्लड प्रेशर 140/80 हमारा खुद का ही हमारा कॉन्सेप्ट गलत है. हमें ब्लड प्रेशर चाहिए कितना? 210/120. हाँ, ये हुआ ना बात, ये हुआ मेरा मरीज. भाई आना पड़ेगा आपको, हाँ दिखाना पड़ेगा, ऐसे बात नहीं बनेगी. ठीक है. सो भाई ये देखो, रिस्क ऑफ इवेंट्स इन पीपल विद NAFLD वर्सेज MAFLD ऑफ CV इवेंट्स. भाई देखो कितना है, 5 गुना भाई. ये देखो भाई, फैटल CV इवेंट्स, ये फैटल CV इवेंट्स है कितने गुना? 5 गुना. क्यूमुलेटिव अब मालूम चला क्या सोचा था? सरदार बहुत खुश होगा, शाबाशी देगा. क्यों? We welcome Dr. Vivek sir. He was in the midst of aorta ablation, saving a life. So we give you a big hand. Instead, sir, I have taken up your presentation, and you will answer all the questions. So the commonest cause.
Even then, this is the best CME we have ever done.
सर आप अगली CME में भी मत आना सर.
लेट आना है सर, आना तो है.
Okay, so
सवाल तो बताने हैं.
let's settle down. So the cumulative mortality across spectrum CV events, fatal CV events is at least 3 to 5 times. Okay, NAFLD approved treatment is available, but challenge is how to diagnose patient. Now we are coming to the real thing. why you are going to have dinner tonight? Okay, so this is the thing. NAFLD clinical presentation, symptoms of NAFLD. NAFLD is a silent disease. What is another silent killer? in the book of Harrison? Hypertension is a silent killer. Usually remains asymptomatic in 80% of patients at fatty liver stage. आप किसी भी पेशेंट को मिल लो, आप 100 किलोग्राम वाले बंदे को मिल लो, ब्लड प्रेशर 180-90 मिल लो, आप उसकी फैमिली के साथ बात कर लो, बंदा तंबाकू चमा रहा होगा आपके सामने बैठ के, आप उसको बोलो भाई चीजें बहुत सीरियस हैं, और डॉक्टर साहब मुझे तो कुछ पता ही नहीं चलता, मुझे भूख अच्छी लगती है, मुझे नींद अच्छी आती है, मुझे कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. क्या करना है मेटाबॉलिक सिंड्रोम का? फैटीग, एब्डोमिनल पेन फ्रीक्वेंटली प्रेजेंट. इफ योर पेशेंट इज हैविंग अनयूजुअल फैटीग, ही इज ओबीज, एंड नाउ ही सेज कि डॉक्टर साहब मैं काम पे जाता हूं और मैं सिर्फ वहां पे जाके सोता रहता हूं. तो पहली चीज तो सोचो भैया खराटे तो नहीं लेता, ऑब्स्ट्रक्टिव स्लीप एपनिया सिंड्रोम रूल आउट करो. डॉक्टर मंगला सर का केस है, ठीक है, डॉक्टर मंगला सर को भेजो सीधा. भैया दूसरा कॉज जो है ना, जो आपको देखना है वो ये
LMP offended.
नहीं, LMP is not offended. I the one who taught him HMP shunt pathway. Yeah. In 79 you ask him. Obstructive sleep apnea. He operates on obstructive sleep apnea. I operated many of my patients. Okay, so fatigue, obesity, and you must also remember that liver is the central organ. जो हमारे दादा और दादी बताते थे, भैया तुम कुछ भी खा लो लेकिन पचाता तुम्हारा जिगर ही है. अगर तुम्हारा जिगर ठीक नहीं है तो कुछ ठीक नहीं है. तो भैया फैटीग, और ये रूल आउट करो इस पेशेंट को कहीं हेपेटाइटिस बी और हेपेटाइटिस सी नहीं है. कॉमनेस्ट सिम्टम इन हेपेटाइटिस सी इज फैटीग. कॉमनेस्ट सिम्टम इन हेपेटाइटिस बी इज फैटीग, एंड कॉमनेस्ट सिम्टम इन NAFLD इज फैटीग. Often NAFLD diagnosed an incidental finding on statin monitoring, annual reviews in type 2 diabetes, lipid hypertension clinic, medical insurance, occupational health checks. Dr. Abha Parashar does ultrasound all the time. Obese adult people, she must be writing fatty liver grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. I would request her to write in the end, kindly evaluate yourself for MAFLD. So if she will do that, she will be free from any Consumer Protection Act. Need to screen patients at early stage of the disease. NAFLD screening recommendations from various guidelines: American Association for the Study of Liver Disease, European Association for the Study of Liver Disease, American Diabetes Association. So this is very, very important that you screen your patients for MAFLD. And Dr. Anil Gupta has stopped writing because he has already written everything. Obesity, type 2 diabetes, pre-diabetes with elevated liver enzymes, metabolic syndrome, presence of more than 3 risk factors. So this is important here. More than 3 risk factors. Abdominal obesity, waist circumference 90-80 as I have told you, height is triglyceride 150, hypertension 130-85, blood pressure is also important. Okay, that is the thing I want to convey. Impaired fasting glucose, fasting glucose of more than 110. Actually impaired fasting is 110, but you must understand that anything which is between 100 to 125 is suspicious. Okay, so decrease HDL cholesterol less than 40 milligram and less than 50 milligram in females. And as I said, carry home this message from me: low HDL cholesterol, surrogate marker of इंसुलिन रेजिस्टेंस. यार इतना पढ़ाया जाता है, कमाल की बात है. इंसुलिन रेजिस्टेंस, ठीक है, और एचडीएल कोलेस्ट्रॉल का 1 मिलीग्राम बढ़ने के लिए, 1 मिलीग्राम बढ़ाने के लिए यू हैव टू इंक्रीज द इंसुलिन सेंसिटिविटी. एंड यू इंक्रीज इंसुलिन सेंसिटिविटी, द बेस्ट वे इज बाय ब्रिस्क वॉकिंग. So recommended initial screening is AST and ALT liver enzymes, abdominal ultrasonography, sent to Dr. Abha Parashar. So liver enzymes, AST and ALT, normal range of liver enzymes, AST 15 to 42, ALT 1 to 35. Benefits are elevated levels suggest further screening through ultrasound, easily available, low cost. But what are the limitations? The limitations are that ALT, AST are not sensitive to NAFLD, NASH. सिर्फ इसी में नहीं बढ़ते हैं, बहुत सारी और चीजों में बढ़ते हैं. ड्रग इंड्यूस हो सकता है, हेपेटाइटिस हो सकती है, एनी ऑफ द वायरल हेपेटाइटिस, एंड पुअर कोरिलेशन बिटवीन ALT एंड हिस्टोलॉजी. ALT टिपिकली डिक्रीजेस विद एडवांस्ड फाइब्रोसिस. ALT कहाँ से निकलता है? हेपेटोसाइट से. अगर हेपेटोसाइट ही फाइब्रोज होने शुरू हो गए इन्फ्लेमेशन के बाद, तो लेवल्स जो है वो नीचे आ जाएंगे और आप क्या सोचेंगे, मरीज अच्छा हो रहा है. ऐसा नहीं हो रहा है, लीवर जा रहा है. एज NASH progresses, AST ALT ratio may increase, so ratio does not rule out NASH, does not provide confirmatory diagnosis. You will still have to do advanced imaging or FibroScan or the gold standard liver biopsy. You have got the message. So I am not the person. I think Dr. Abha Parashar is the best person. This is the normal normal ecos, first diagnostic tool for fatty liver, easily available, low cost. Limitations of this are low specificity at very initial stage, can't differentiate between statosis and fibrosis. This is the problem. Statosis and fibrosis, although advanced fibrosis, when you have nodules, regenerative nodules, you can say it is cirrhosis. But in the initial stages, it is very difficult and it is operator dependent. Dr. Abha Parashar has the state-of-the-art ultrasound, good probes, but the other guy doesn't have, and therefore her report and the other report can vary between grade 1 to grade 3 fatty liver.
Or Chavan, would you like to summarize now?
No,
What are past-
another 2 minutes, sir.
what are
Another
past 10?
Another 2 minutes. If liver enzymes and USC suggests fatty liver, then fibrosis 4, fifth 4 index for the liver fibrosis, which is age, AST, ALT and platelet count. These are the fifth 5 fibrosis 4. The benefits easily available, only 4 parameters, quickest way, higher positive and negative predictive value, low cost, limitations, not confirmative assessment, need further evaluation through VCT or liver biopsy, and the cutoff NPV, the negative predictive value is less than 1.3, rules out fibrosis, intermediate, but if the positive predictive value is more than 2.67, there is a high probability of fibrosis. Fifth 4 index is more than 1.3 predicts fibrosis. Then transient elastography, as we said, Dr. Abha Parashar said, the FibroScan liver stiffness and liver fat simultaneously. Liver stiffness measurement LSM presented as kilopascals, which measures fibrosis in liver normal range less than 7. At times we are not able to interpret. We ask the gastroenterologist, शुभम बस को फोन करोगे भाई ये बता दे जरा एक मिनट सर मरीज को कल भेज दो ना यार मैं देख के बता दूंगा. Controlled attenuation parameter presented as decibels which measures liver fat normal range less than 275 decibels, measures liver stiffness over an area estimated to be more than 100 times greater than that of biopsy. छोटी सी biopsy है, आप liver आप fibroscan कर रहे हो 100 times. Failure to obtain reading is more likely in patients with a high BMI more than 30 kg. However, use of Excel probe may help overcome this limitation. More to Abha Parashar. Overestimation of fibrosis can occur in cases of hepatitis, cholestasis because the echoes will differ. Liver congestion and if mass lesions are present in the liver. Liver biopsy is the confirmative test. It is the confirmative test. When to perform, more features of metabolic syndrome, obesity, hypertension, increased TG, low SDL, impaired glucose tolerance, diabetes, family history also present, older age, chances of carcinoma, high AST, ALT, low platelet, albumin, when to consider, cholecystectomy, bariatric surgery situation, benefits, establish diagnosis of NASH, rule out other processes, alpha-1 antitrypsin, iron overload, autoimmune component, assess early fibrosis. Limitations are psychological disturbance, nobody wants to undergo a surgery, risk of bleeding, pain, infection, sampling variability, inter-individual variability in scoring system. Algorithm for diagnosis of NAFLD. We have already discussed it and I am not going to spend any more time on this. NAFLD management encompassing recent advances. So lifestyle modification is the crux. Diet control, weight reduction. If you cannot reduce weight, forget about doing anything to NAFLD. Managing comorbid conditions, obesity, type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome, pharmacotherapy and bariatric surgery. Lifestyle guidelines, diet, weight loss, exercise. The bottom line is you have to lose at least 10% of your existing body weight to achieve a 50% reduction in mortality. Okay, अगर 100 किलो वेट है कितना लूज करना है आपको 10 किलो. And how much do you reduce your mortality? What is the mortality benefit? 50%. Great. Weight loss through lifestyle modification. Challenge is to maintain sustained weight loss. The problem क्या है? आप weight loss शुरू करो, lifestyle शुरू करो, सब कुछ करो, लेकिन पेशेंट जो है एक साल के बाद जब आएगा, he would not have continued to lose weight, he would have gained weight. This is the problem. So sustenance is a problem here, and therefore we have to be very careful, and the patient has to be motivated. Vitamin E, pioglitazone, SGLT2 inhibitors used as off-label medicines in NAFLD. You would remember in presentations of empagliflozin, sir, we have discussed many times for heart failure. There was a study called the ELIFT study in SGLT2 inhibitors, empagliflozin, where not only structural ultrasound imaging but also the histological studies were performed and they said that there is a benefit. The other molecules are vitamin E, not approved for NAFLD NASH, recommended in non-diabetic NASH. Please understand, non-diabetic increases the risk of hemorrhagic stroke, possibly all-cause mortality as more than 800 units per day month low, increased prostate carcinoma risk with vitamin E. We give it left, right and center for anything from sinusitis, rhinitis, cramps, weakness, etc. etc. Pioglitazone not approved for NAFLD NASH, recommended in diabetic NASH. So vitamin E is recommended in non-diabetic NASH, pioglitazone is recommended in diabetic NASH. Risk of edema, weight gain, we all know it, black box warning. Risk of osteoporosis in women because it encourages osteoclastic activity and it decreases osteoblastic activity. Therefore, इक्विवोकल ब्लैडर कैंसर रिस्क मालूम नहीं भाई, प्लस माइनस अगर जरूरत हो तो नहीं. SGLT2 inhibitors reduces liver fat enzymes but not able to reduce fibrosis in liver, need more clinical evidence. Use of these agents should be personalized for selected patients with histologically confirmed NASH after careful consideration of risk benefit ratio. Now we come to the last few slides and then you can go to Dr. Viveka sir, he will answer everything. Saroglitazole, the only approved drug in India for NAFLD NASH. Now, what is saroglitazar? Saroglitazar is basically a PPAR gamma agonist, okay? Activating genes involved in the lipid metabolism, whether fatty oxidation, fatty acid uptake, ApoA1 HDL, thereby decreasing TG, VLDL, Apo, C3 reduces inflammation and PPAR gamma activation. It increases insulin sensitivity, increases glucose uptake, increases fatty acid uptake by the liver cell, increases adiponectin, and this the entire cascade of events decreases inflammation. Saroglitazar improves glucose metabolism and insulin sensitivity. We all know it, we have discussed it many times. Saroglitazar is a PPAR alpha gamma agonist for treatment of NAFLD, a randomized controlled double-blind phase 2 trial. At effectiveness of the PPAR gamma agonist in non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, positive data from preclinical and clinical studies, and this was a biopsy-driven P3 study from India. Study results, primary endpoint, decrease in NAFLD activity score, NAS more than 2 was observed in more than 52%. Great study of patients without worsening of fibrosis at 52 weeks. So baseline 23% and at the end of a 52-week study, it was the total proportion of patients, 52, who had a decrease in NAFLD activity. More than 50% patients. Saroglitazar in non-diabetic NAFLD patients, an Indian retrospective observational study, and we will come to the last few slides. In answer 2022 recommendations on drug for NAFLD, vitamin E already discussed, pioglitazone already discussed, not approved for NAFLD NASH, not approved for NASH. Saroglitazar only approved for NAFLD NASH by DCGI. Drug Controller Government of India. Saroglitazar has been approved for the treatment of NASH. Reduces liver fat enzymes, reduces NASH, proved in biopsy-driven studies, better efficacy in diabetic dyslipidemia with high triglyceride. And we have some recommendations from Lipid Association of India. Saroglitazar mentioned in 2 major Indian concern studies, LAI 2020 and RSSDI 2022 expert consensus that it can be given for this indication for NASH and for reducing the morbidity, mortality in NASH and in NAFLD. Comparison of NAFLD pharmacotherapy, I will not go into it. So what I would like to say is that the last slide, I think Dr. Viveka sir, if he sees my YouTube presentation, he will have some good words for me. NAFLD is highly prevalent in India, having 40% prevalence rate. Okay, and where is the highest prevalence rate? North India or South India?
South India.
South India. Okay, you know it, right? Okay, why? We will ask her. So NNA, assessment of NAFLD is needed in diabetes, dyslipidemia, metabolic disease patients through liver enzyme and ultrasound. Okay. Come to F. What was the score I told you? The FIB4, the fibrosis 4 index, and FibroScan are key parameters to check further progression of fibrosis. Okay. L, lifestyle modification and weight reduction are the first line management, but sustained weight reduction is a major challenge. That is the problem. So keep asking your patient to come back. And D, drugs like, what are the drugs? Saroglitazar is only approved medication to treat NAFLD in India, which can reduce liver enzymes, liver fat and fibrosis score as well. So there are drugs which can reduce fat score. There are drugs which can reverse NASH. Saroglitazar is the only proven drug, a biopsy-driven study, which ameliorates, which helps even people with fibrosis. Dr. Podar ne jawab diya. So friends, is NAFLD prevalence underestimated in India? Yes. Very good. How much do we find association of NAFLD with various comorbidities in routine clinical practice? 80%. 80%. Where do you find pure FLD? Less than 8%. Less than 8%. Is it appropriate to redefine NAFLD as a metabolic associated fatty liver disease, Dr. Gupta sir? Yes sir. Sir said very, very strongly. You redefine. What should be the ideal way to screen, diagnose NAFLD patients in routine clinical practice? What is the role of transient elastography for NASH assessment? Is there a role of transient elastography, sir? There is a role. Is it a very sensitive investigation though? No, it is not. How much saroglitazar is effective for the management of NAFLD and NASH in routine practice? How much do you give? 1 milligram, 2 milligram, 3 milligram, 4 milligram?
4 milligram.
4 milligram. That is what you give. Okay? And therefore, friends, it is time to thank all of you. And to listen to me, totally unprepared, totally impromptu.
Very good, sir.
And Dr. Viveka sir, we are so proud of you. We are so proud of you, sir. And the first thing that I wanted to do was to felicitate you through our moderator, sir, Dr. Tulsi sir. सर एक प्लांट होगा आपके पास सर? सर है इधर सर, दीजिए सर को सर, वी नीड यू हियर उधर ले सर प्लीज. बिग हैंड फॉर डॉक्टर विवेका सर.
भाई आगे से हट जा. ओए भैया, ओ भाई अच्छा भी लेते हैं
about yeah, Dr. Sen, just give me a minute. You can sip the last few drops that you have. About Dr. Viveka sir, I can only say that with lot of effort sir had been sending messages, and it was through Dr. Tulsi that I decided that I will associate myself with Dr. Viveka sir. That was in 2010. We transitioned to becoming very, very close and very good friends, and then we have matured to being close collaborators. Sir always asks me to come to his CMEs, moderate sessions wherever it is possible, and I try to be there at 8:30 and stay there at least till 5:30. So I have total dedication to his cause, and the surprising thing is that sir reciprocates not with 100% response but with 500 response for Physicians Forum of India. Sir, we are very proud of our association with you, and it comes from my heart. And I took this presentation. Had it been any other speaker, I would have just backed out, taken my dinner, gone home, sir. But I made it a point that I will give it my best shot. I don't know how good a job I did, but a job had to be done, sir, and I did it. And we are so proud that you were saving a life. Over to Dr. Tulsi, sir, for moderating the session. We have Dr. Shubham here on purpose. He is one of the best persons actually to speak on NAFLD, its definition being revised to metabolic associated fatty liver disease, and the fact that the cause of death or mortality in most of the cases is actually a cardiovascular cause. So we have none other than the most beautiful, most handsome, most skillful cardiologist of our town and North India, I can say, in a few years, Dr. Viveka sir.
Yeah, so I think I had told Vijay and all that the talk should be given by Dr. Shubham. Because he is the NFLD man. And people sitting in this room will not have NFLD because everybody is alcohol. It's non-alcoholic drinking. Huh? Dash nahi ho sakta. So, I think one of the protection people take it here is that they take alcohol, so they will not have NASH. So I think Shubham will be the best person to, put on the comment. So in fact, to begin with, recently I had a interaction with one of the, general physician, very respected physician of Kanpur. So he said that Dr. Saab, the gastroenterologist, have made a, killing fear in people's mind that, you have got fatty liver. So fatty liver will destroy your liver. So the guy comes, he is 100 kilograms and says, sir, I have got fatty liver. So I told him that, when you are fatty, how can your liver be not fatty? So I will ask Dr. Shubham to say that, is it just the weight correction would cure the fatty liver, or you have to do something more? I think Dr. Chauhan has already set a proportion of 10% weight loss. And, yeah, please come.
Sir, first of all, I want to thank Dr. Chauhan and Dr. Viveka, Dr. Tulsi to give me so much respect. I've been associated with this forum for 5 years now, and I think I attend all the meetings despite I left the city in the morning time to serve a hospital in Faridabad. But I want to share with you that I am transitioning back to Fortis Vasanthkunj, and I have got my admission rights and my OPD as well as operating rights there, and I'm taking care of Faridabad right now. But yes, I'm transitioning back to Fortis Vasanthkunj. So on the other hand, sir, I want to ask you, is alcohol really that bad? Why? Because I'm not supporting alcohol drinking. But the point is that is carbohydrate load or the calorie surplus undermined in the name of alcohol? Because we are a country which is full of carbohydrates, full of calorie surplus. Wherever we visit a place, we are served fried samosas, we are served chili chicken which is fried. And the second thing which I want to ask you is that how much is the oil in which the food is cooked? Like majority of the commercial places, I think including this place, use refined vegetable oil. And vanaspati is also very commonly used oil all over the country. And dalda was used in history. I hope it is not being used. So in my whatever education I have attained in all these 15 years of being training with 3 degrees, I still think that alcohol, okay, yes, if you are abusing it, you are definitely killing your liver. But NASH, killing your heart before your liver. So home IR study says at 24 years of age, if your KPA on a fibroscan is more than 8, the chances of you dying at 36 from an MI is almost thrice the normal population. So my question is, sir, how much are these factors being undermined in the name of just whatever external factors are there? Thank you.
So let me say that, Dr. Shubham. So there is a wide heterogeneity in studies, see, regarding the impact of alcohol. Regarding the impact of alcohol, see, on liver diseases, and more than 60 grams per day is probably detrimental. So mild alcohol intake as we take really isn't very detrimental. Having said that, if you have increased amount, that is, increased amount would be 60 grams per day, is probably detrimental for liver diseases. And NFLD, friends, this is a big club, or as Dr. Chauhan would like to call it, as an MAFLD. So NAFLD and MAFLD is a big club, and most people, all of us are members of this club. Probably Dr. Kiran Pudar may not be a member of this club, but everybody here is a member of this club. What do you say, Dr. Shubha? Membership of the MAPED.
Data says in India 30% people have
Yes,
NAFLD.
30%, I'm sorry.
That's what data says. But the point is again, when you are drinking alcohol, what is the amount of calories you are taking along with it? That again is a factor which is not seen. So I entered here and I have maybe 3 drinks and I eat 5 samosas and mirchi vadas and all these paneer pakoras. So I'm already intaking 4,000 kilocalories. So where is that kilocalorie going? That is where the mind should be, and that is why the sustained weight loss is not there. The second thing is you need to understand that the liver understands only milligrams of alcohol. So if you have a 30 ml drink of whiskey, that's 40% weight by volume, so you're taking 12 grams. So what the safe drinking is 14 by 4, which is defined by ASLD, that 14 drinks per week for a male and 4 drinks per week for a female are considered safe intake. But that's not safe if you are consuming 4,000 kilocalories along with it. So you cannot undermine what you are eating. You have to look at what you are eating, how it is made, what oil is used, where you are eating. If majority of what we are eating is from Zomato and Swiggy, and we say we have alcoholic fatty liver disease, then I have a question there. That's all I'm saying.
So Dr.
Yeah.
Viveka has an answer to that?
No, so it is again, I'm going to refer to a Indian observational study where we saw that, more than 10,000 patient data, which is coordinated with ICMR, which showed that what we call French paradox is not happening in Indian, so there is no Indian paradox. So it was seen that the people in Mediterranean, when they take alcohol, they take green salad, healthy, snacks. But when the Indian context, people take alcohol, they go, haywire on deep fried food and all what we call trans fat. So trans fat, like, these, there are a lot of jokes circulating in WhatsApp that, if you have brought namkeen, then somebody will be arranging for your alcohol also. So it means that people are indulging into trans fat when they take alcohol. So whatever the advantage, doubtful advantage of alcohol is, that is already gone. So when you have, so the good practice is that when you drink it with, green salad. So I'll request who is the chef here, and Dr. Chauhan, to order them, then to serve rather than this plate full of deep fried things.
Nuts also.
Yeah, nuts. So nuts and the green salad is better. So I think that will help NFLD in a great way. And also the cardiac benefits are seen with alcohol only when you don't consume, as I think Shubham has said rightly, that how much calorie you have taken, what oil is taken. So if you are taking a lot of trans fat, that is more harmful. So alcohol will not be able to deliver its promised results. So what goes with alcohol is also very, very important, not just the alcohol. So I think we need to be very mindful of that. And it is like a doctor who himself is a BMI of more than 30 telling the patient that you should not be. So there are a lot of patients who come to us and say that, doctor, do you get time to go and exercise and walk for, you get, I don't think that you, so the real story is that there was one patient who said that, you tell that we should be doing 10,000 steps in a day, and I don't think you get time to do that. So I have to show him my health app, that before I hit the hospital, I have already completed, because beyond that you don't get time. So you need to have a healthy balance of your diet, your drink and your exercise, and then only you will have a healthy mind. So I think, the two most important or three most important organs in your body, heart, liver and kidney, you must respect them, and you need to, define the boundaries of that. And if you have done that, then I think you are good to go for many long years. Otherwise, you will be inviting trouble. So I think let's have the ritual questions from Dr. Tulsi for Dr. Chauhan.
So So, those are nice pearls of wisdom to talk us through the treatment of NAFLD. So, would you say pioglitazone, which reduces triglycerides to the extent of 40%, vitamin E, SGLT2 inhibitors, GLP-1 agonists, probably are the drug of choice here. Apart from this, statins in high doses. I'd like to ask Dr. Viveka regarding the statins. What do you choose? Do you choose hydrophilic or do you choose lipophilic, or are they all the same? We know statins are hepatoprotective drugs now and would reduce, would probably reduce progression of NAFLD or MAFLD to steatic hepatitis, to fibrosis and cirrhosis. So, would you like to take that? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think if you look at the protective effects, so once the liver enzymes have already gone up, then we try and stop statins. But if you start it early, then obviously you have significant benefit with statins. And not only statins, Dr. Chauhan has already shown the data that we have got wonderful molecules like saroglitazole. So if you have got 4 milligram of saroglitazole, then the triglycerides are also taken care of, and your partial. So those who are pre-diabetic, diabetic, and early diabetic, then also the benefit of this molecule is there. And then SGLT2 inhibitor has also been shown to have a great promise in this situation. Then I think obviously the liver enzymes and all has to be monitored, but we give statins to all the people who come, and we say that it has got a protective effect and all, and look at the data, definitely it has. But today the data which has come in more than 20,000 patients on beta blocker, that if you look at the observational study, what we call real life observational study, there it has clearly shown that the trials are okay, but we need to look at the large real life experiences, and I will ask Dr. Shubham to throw some light on that. That does the, when the practice of stopping the statins in these patients who have got raised liver enzyme is a valid option, or should we continue?
Can I answer that, Dr. Viveka? So, Lancet Gastroenterology and Hepatology said that statins in high doses are indicated in patients who have NAFLD or MAFLD, and they are hepatoprotective, and this is really recommended unless and until you have decompensated liver failure. Dr. Shubham, like to take that?
Sir, earlier I used to read that statins should be started before you actually take birth. That's the kind of positive effect they have. But the point is that does saroglitazar have an effect in proven NAFLD? Yeah, it has. But we say that saroglitazar is the drug of choice of diabetic dyslipidemia, and that is why it helps in NAFLD. So the association might be still a little indirect, but yes, it is a very good drug. What is the positive effect of SGLT2 inhibitor? Now SGLT2 inhibitor is working on insulin resistance. That is what we are saying. So sustained weight loss cannot be undermined in the name of any drug. That's all I know as far as I need to tell it to the patient, that irrespective of what medicine you are taking. So sir, we have this drug called obeticholic acid. You might have heard of it. And there was a trial called Resolve It trial published in Journal of Hepatology 2016, which said that it has an anti-fibrotic effects. So it is being used with a lot of positive effect, but still the drug should not undermine the use of the effect of sustained weight loss. So
Dr. Shubham, statins are also anti-fibrotic drugs now.
Dr. Amish Vora.
Dr. Amish Vora, good friend, and I don't know how the oncologist developed a love for fatty liver.
No, we all develop love for you, sir, and that's why we come. But
I'll tell you why. Methotrexate, abiraterone, if you use so much, and tamoxifen, all cause fatty liver. That's it.
so there is Just one comment and one question to Viveka sir. One comment is, I am very thankful, Dr. Viveka, that you came late. And trust me, around 15 to 20 the forum meetings which I have attended, I think, sir, this was the best lecture what I have heard. And it includes my lecture also, and I am very egoistic about my own presentation. But I still feel it was far superior to anybody else. And now question to Dr. Viveka, जिनके लिए मैं खास आया आज. Lot of family members, you know, I am not a cardiologist, so I don't have any of these researches, but lot of family members, especially Gujarati family members, have triglycerides between 400 to 600. I have been following their ultrasound, they are not having fatty liver, you know. So, NAFLD and hypertriglyceridemia, especially in Asians, is it a different disease? And tell you why I asked that question. In oncology, in a liver cancer, NAFLD does not respond to immunotherapy, and alcoholic HCCs and hepatitis wala HCCs respond very well to immunology. So NAFLD is a different world altogether. So your comments, sir.
Yeah, so I think as usual, brilliant question. So if you ask that NAFLD is a different animal, so definitely it is something which is different animal, and we have seen that triglycerides are so when we see that people who are pre-diabetic, diabetic, early diabetic, and of course uncontrolled diabetic, the triglycerides and all go really high, and those the patients who have got NAFLD. And let me tell you that if you quote the study in South Asians by Dr. Inas and Inas, who is originally from Kerala, and he did a study in patients who are of South Asian origin. He found that there is a strong correlation with the triglyceride level and cardiovascular disease as well, leave alone the liver disease. I'll ask Dr. Shubham about the liver disease also. But definitely it's like we always tell our patients that I'm not going to treat just your heart, just your liver, because we need to make sure that the patient as a whole gets treated. So you are very right, is that that this is something which is a different disease entity, and controlling triglyceride in Indian South Asian population is definitely very, very helpful. And also there is a molecule icosapent, which has shown that if you control the triglyceride levels, there are a lot of studies which have been done with the high dose statins, even PCSK9 inhibitor. The plaque reduction, that is the reduction in the percentage of the blockage in the arteries, was not significant. But we have seen that when you icosapent pentathyl molecule, if you do that, there was a first time reduction in the blockage in the arteries also. Now we are doing a study, we call it Victoria Plaque study, which is 6 months every 6 months injection with the inclisiran. So that has also shown the benefit of decreasing the plaque burden. So I think the triglyceride in genetically prone people like South Asian, which you call thrifty gene hypothesis, where the population in South Asian part, they have been thriving on repeated famines and all. So probably they try and conserve more food. So when we eat 2000 calories, probably we conserve almost 1800 calories, as against the Caucasians where they conserve hardly 500 calories. So probably that is the hypothesis beyond why this happens. So answering your Gujarati community, so this study of trans fats and high triglyceride level was done in triglyceride the Gujarati families who are expatriates. So this study from Inas, and Inas is from people only who are living in UK and US, and there it was found that raising a triglyceride level which was not significant in Caucasian population is significantly important in Indian origin people who have migrated to these places, and it is very important to control the triglyceride and indirectly obviously the NAFLD and all. So I think the cardiovascular benefit is definitely for sure, and the the liver benefit and all would also be falling in line. So I'll ask one line from Shubham also, that what does he feel about it?
Yeah, I just want to say, Amish sir, brilliant question. But the point is, it is a different animal because it is PCOD of the liver. So 16-year-old female having PCOD and a 16-year-old guy having NAFLD, the common point is the same. It's not a liver disease. That's what we need to understand. Hemochromatosis is a liver disease. Hepatitis B, C, liver disease. Alcohol, chronic alcoholism, liver disease. Whatever, Wilson, hemochromatosis, or the rare causes, alpha-1 antitrypsin or whatever, liver disease. This is not a liver disease. The liver faces the brunt of insulin resistance. The ovary faces the brunt of insulin resistance. The genetics and the whole pathophysiology is different. You are not treating the liver disease. UDCA is not effective in NAFLD. UDCA only has one indication, primary biliary cirrhosis, to prevent liver transplant. So it is a different animal. What you are observing is absolutely right, because obviously it is not a liver disease. It is a insulin resistance. The brunt is faced by the liver, the ovary, the heart. And that is why we are talking about SGLT2 inhibitors, because they work on insulin resistance. So again, the take home is that it's not a liver disease, sir. I'm lucky to be a gastroenterologist, but I have to understand it's not a liver disease.
Dr. Saurabh Bansal has a-
I'll make a comment, Dr. Chauhan, that the people who have evolved over the years, they have developed a special design to protect their liver. So when you go to the in UP, the people who drink a lot, they have got a special dish that is called mutton liver. So it was asked scientifically that when you drink, why do you take mutton liver? So they said that alcohol will get confused which liver to destroy.
Dr. Saurabh Bansal has a question, sir.
Sir, I was very fascinated to listen all this lecture, amazing lecture by sir, and very good thought process with Dr. Shubham and you, as always. I have a very straightforward question to all my physician colleagues. I being a surgeon, a dead honest question, how many patients do you actually, what is the indication and how many patients you actually refer, being honest, for bariatric surgery in India, where the prevalence of obesity is so high? Bariatric surgery has beyond 0.21 that it is a metabolic surgery, especially the bypass and mini gastric bypass. What are your indications in your practice, and what is the percentage of patients you practice?
Because I think it is now labeled as metabolic surgery rather than the bariatric surgery. So if you see, this is a metabolic surgery, and there are a lot of patients where we have the great case of ex-minister Arun Jaitley. He was also referred for bariatric surgery to control his sugar and diabetes also. So these are the people, Anand Tripathi also. So I think this is something which has, and because of its very telling effect, it is now it was considered that now the insurance also reimburses this, and even the government agency also start reimbursing it. So definitely this is something which is really a metabolic thing, but it's not having 100% penetration. So if you look at the Indian population, there any intervention is considered to be inferior to drug therapy and lifestyle things. But definitely, end of the day, this is something which, if the patient has failed, so I would say that all patients who fail the lifestyle modification in 6 to 9 months, they should be referred for this metabolic surgery rather than bariatric surgery.
Sir, we have seen post-metabolic surgery, post-bariatric surgery, patients regaining weight. The problem is that patient counseling to the level that this is not the answer. Diet restriction and calorie restriction even after bariatric surgery is important.
To answer that, whatever surgeons were getting for bariatric surgery, number of patients, it is going to be still less, because after semaglutide, after the invent of semaglutide, bariatric surgeons are going to get even lesser patients for bariatric surgery. That is my hope. You can study it after 5 years. Semaglutide is a wonderful drug which will further give less chance of bariatric surgery.
Let me just
just interject for a minute. You talked about semaglutide, sir. Semaglutide. There is another drug, injectable tirazapride, which is going to be revolutionary in the treatment of type 2 diabetes, obesity, more than 20% weight and weight loss. So it is going to be just a game changer, although very costly. I saw a post in Dr. M.L. Kalra's academic group, and I learned a lot from that. Dr. Thakur has a question.
Dr. Viveka, sir, good evening. Dr. Thakur this side. Just, I have one small question. One question is humorous, nothing to ask with the academic. Dr. Chauhan was trying to affect us by saying that alcohol level in male should be 30 ml and 20 ml in female. So, sir, I just wanted to know if wife is not drinking, can we combine that alcohol level in our? Number one. Number two, on a serious note, two small questions. Two small questions. One was regarding this sugar level. That sugar level should be less than 100 and HbA1c should be less than 6.5 or something. I have a question that if sugar level is 108 or 7 fasting and HbA1c of a person is staying between 5.5 and 5.7, will you flag him? Number one. Number two, second question is regarding this ALT and AST. Because I am also a pathologist. We also see, and we have worked with Dr. Chauhan for a long time. For more than a decade we have worked here, and he has promoted me in India when I came back. I just wanted to know one thing. If a person is having Gilbert syndrome, his bilirubin and ALT, AST will be. So how are you going to, flag him?
You have to look for, on imaging, you have to look for evidence of inflammation to diagnose steatohepatitis, and you have to perform fibroscan to demonstrate the onset of fibrosis, but the gold standard will remain between Gilbert syndrome and non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, the liver biopsy. I hope it answers your question, sir.
But what about sugar? HbA1c?
No, HbA1c is, I think, less.
If HbA1c 5.6 or 5.7, always.
Pre-diabetes.
And he
Control बैठ जाओ बेटा.
fasting is 102, 105, or 100 or 98 for last 10 years. How are you going to teach him?
So let me answer this, sir.
Yeah,
If his sugar is between 100 to 110,
Edit करेंगे.
his sugar is between 100 to 110, then we should look for insulin resistance. The patient has an HbA1c less than 5.7. He is in the pre-diabetic range. We should not forget that everything else which is pertaining to common soil hypothesis is still there. Whether it is hyperinsulinemia or it is dyslipidemia, endothelial dysfunction, everything is still there. So we have to be very careful. Insulin resistance is the root cause of everything.
Yeah, so I think if you look at the pre-diabetics, they are worse off than people who are non-diabetic. So 5 years before they become diabetic, the pre-diabetic status, but fortunately it is a reversible state. So you can, with the strong lifestyle and with the modification of drugs like saroglitazar and all, you can reverse it, but lifestyle has a strong power. So I would say that if you look at the cardiovascular events also, they are significantly higher in people who are pre-diabetic compared to non-diabetic population. So obviously what Dr. Chauhan said, the common soil hypothesis, which is very, very important. So controlling your sugar, controlling your calorie intake, controlling your body mass index is very, very important.
Sir, I have one question now, sir. This thyroglitazole new, you see molecule is there. It is a PPR alpha and gamma agonist. So my question is, does it cause also like pioglitazone some cardiovascular abnormal, you see events, AEs, Number one. Number two, can it be given in non-FLD without diabetes? These are my two questions, sir. May it cause hypoglycemia if we will give? So what should be the precautions for this thing? Third is my question, third question, one more, sir. In these individuals, we have got in Asians particularly, there is this NAFLD, MAFLD. So what is the pathogenesis about this thing?
Yeah, so I think if you look at the indications, even people who are having normal HbA1c level and those who have got high triglyceride, it is an indication. So coming to your question, because it's not going to cause any hypoglycemia in those situations, so it is a standalone DGCI approval for hypertriglyceridemia alone. So even whatever the HbA1c level, even if they are having hypertriglyceridemia, we can easily give them. And we have found it that far superior than, so we had patients who are non-diabetic and triglyceride in the range of 1500, 2000 level. We had 2-3 patients where it was in the range of 3000, and it did not come with the fenofibrate and all, it did not come down. But when we give this molecule, it came down to almost near normal level. So I think answering your question, definitely this is a molecule where in non-diabetics also it can be given to control the triglycerides.
Yeah, sir, my question, two questions. Fatty liver per se, is it an ultrasound diagnosis or a lab diagnosis? This is one. And the other is that the qualifications for MFLD, like blood pressure more than 130/85 and fasting sugar more than 110, or HDL less than 40, or triglyceride of above 150. You can have these and still have a normal ultrasound with no fatty liver, showing no fatty liver as say, or you can, the ultrasound shows a fatty liver and this could be normal. What is the correlation and what is the value for this?
So fatty liver is simply a ultrasound diagnosis. I would say that it is something which is over or under diagnosed in different labs, and these are the which all you enumerated, these are the predictors of fatty liver. So if you have got high triglyceride, high blood sugar and all, so they would lead to fatty liver definitely. But coming to the observation that body mass index is most important predictor. So you need to correlate it with body mass index, and beyond the body mass index prediction, if it is fatty liver is there, then that is more important than standalone fatty liver. And I would say that the overkill about the fatty liver is there, which is simply because we are not considering patient in total, we are just looking at the liver. So controlling all the metabolic factors, it's basically a metabolic abnormality predictor. So if you control your metabolic predictors like triglycerides, sugar, food intake, lifestyle, then definitely things of fatty liver disorder will come down significantly. So I think what Dr. Chauhan showed in his last slide is very, very important, that incidence is very high, and so incidence is direct correlation with the people who have got abnormal lifestyle disorder. So looking at the risk predictors of fatty liver, Dr. Chauhan will change the menu of this CME.
Dr. Shireen has a question.
Most of this fatty liver or metabolic diseases are related or associated with overweight or obese people. But as a gynecologist, we usually in 30% of cases see thin PCOS. Like that, there are thin patients who are metabolically deranged. And what will be the answer to that?
Yes, I think it's a very good question. So let me tell you that during our DM days and even in various MD days, we were taught that heart disease and this fatty liver and all those things are the disease of wealthy nations. India being a poor nation, this is not going to happen in our country. But then the theory came about type 2 diabetes in thin built people, then people who are laborers, people who are rickshaw pullers, all of them had this disease. So coming to your thing is that it's not just the weight related and obviously it will be the proportion of people suffering from this will be significantly higher in people who are overweight, who are body mass index is higher. But in thin people also it can happen, but this is something which is a totally metabolic disease. So I think we need to look for it, and we need to say that the fatty liver and all is not that something which is only thin-built people would be there. So these are the so there may be one predictor is not there, the weight is not high, but they may have the pre-diabetes, they may have other insulin resistance and other factors which precipitate fatty liver. So we need to look for that and then diagnose early so that you can correct it before it causes significant damage.
Sir, for want of time, I will say only two friendly comments for benefit of my friends who use ETOH, I won't call it alcohol. एक तो आपने अभी बताया था कौन सा लिवर बता रहे थे आप? मटन लिवर। तो उसके इक्विवेलेंट आजकल हिमालय वालों की, दोस्तों ध्यान से सुन लो, इससे पहले कि आप भूल जाओ मैं जो कह रहा हूँ, एक पार्टी स्मार्ट टैबलेट आती है। If you take it before going to a party, alcohol will not harm you as much as it is without that. एक तो ये पॉइंट था। दूसरा, अभी अल्कोहल के बारे में बात चल रही थी, डॉक्टर चौहान सारे बात कह रहे थे डाइट के बारे में और इसके बारे में। ड्यूरेशन एंड डाइल्यूशन, that also carries meaning for alcohol intake. You have to dilute it and take it slowly. Don't binge it. And 10 gram means 30 ml of 40%. This is what I learned. और 30 grams डॉक्टर साहब ने परमिट कर दिया है for every 30 ग्राम काफी है सर for a party. Sir, my academic question is, as we were changing from NAFLD to MAFLD, I would say in a lighter sense, MAFLD is a Mahagathbandhan. It carries more meaning, it carries more votes. Yeah, it carries more votes and it is, वो कहते हैं ना हाथी के पैर में, सर जी हाथी के पैर में सबका पैर। MAFLD में NAFLD तो आएगी है ना, उसके लिए तो कहने की जरूरत नहीं है। मैं मेरे फाजिल दोस्त को बुलाना चाहता हूँ, ये स्टेम सेल्स का ट्रीटमेंट करते हैं। What he has to say in a few 2 lines about
Basically, what we are finding in patients of cirrhosis liver, I'm only treating patients who are having idiopathic, where the cause is not known. So basically, when we have patients who have a FibroScan score of somewhere around 30, there I have treated patients, I have all the proof with me, those who were asked to go for transplant have become absolutely normal and they are living their life. So I don't know, but my this thing for even for insulin resistance is also the reason is that your own insulin doesn't work in your body, but when you take an external insulin from outside, it works. So if something can be done whereby your own insulin starts working in your body, you would not require so many medicines or even insulin. And I'm achieving this in my patients. So I would just like to say this.
Sir, after all this, Dr. Mangla is a silent killer. He will ask a good question.
No, Dr. Viveka. Actually, what I wanted to say that gold standard is liver biopsy. Rest SGOT-PT raised, they do not certify that patient has inflammation. I don't think often liver biopsy is required to treat an FLD.
Yes, I think.
How often then? What is the basis of proving inflammation? Is it only ultrasound? Is it SGOT-PT? Is it weight? Is it triglycerides? It is an overall picture. And other thing is that you give these patients vitamin E, you give saroglitazar, tell them to do exercise, they reduce weight, their LFTs get better. But this being a lifelong phenomenon, and again they develop, raise SGOT-PT, then do you have to give the saroglitazar again? That is what my answer is. Question?
Yes, I think saroglitazar has definitely changed the NAFLD field, and there is a new AI-based software in CT liver which has shown to pick up things much better than the ultrasound alone. So we have got now at
What is definite about the proving inflammation in the
so
liver?
that will show that it is not going to, you don't need biopsy and all. It can be diagnosed with the CT alone. So that is something which is CT. So CT liver, or what we call CT abdomen, where the liver focus will show whether the inflammation is there or not. So there is a very AI-based color-coded inflammatory response of the liver which comes on this, and that is going to be a game changer in this.
And is it corroborated with the biopsy?
Yeah, it is corroborated with the biopsy.
Thank you.